What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from Mtg down there on the YouTube.com. As usual, we like magic, you know by now. And today, more Amonkhet spoilers, because it's going to be pretty much every day for the next couple of weeks. Wednesday's spoilers are pretty darned exciting. Not only do we get to see all the rest of the cartouches and all the rest of the trials, we got to see a planeswalker that may or may not be fair. We'll talk about that in a second. We got to see another thing that gives you extra attack steps, but it's actually playable, possibly. A lot of stuff to get to today. Let's go ahead and get started. First card of the day we actually saw late last night. This is Floodwaters. It costs 6 mana. That's 4 and 2 blue for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands, and you can cycle it for 2 generic mana. It's also common, so that's kind of cool. Good and sealed, looks like, and there's not much else to say about it except check out this flavor text. Not actually what the flavor text is, but who's saying it. A Vizier of Kefnet is saying this quote, which means that Timit, the Vizier of Noctimun, that means that he is a Vizier to a god. We weren't actually sure if Noctimun was like a city or what, or a location maybe, you know, but it turns out that if this is a Vizier of Kefnet that's saying this flavor text here, that means that Timit is the Vizier to a god named Noctimun, and very likely an Azorius god, a blue-white god. So maybe we won't see those until the next set or whatever, but I think that that is basically a confirmation in a really cool and sneaky way of confirming that. So that's Floodwaters is actually kind of exciting just for that fun reason right there. Before we get to the Trials and Cartouches, there was a card spoiled today that I think looks kind of innocuous, but is exactly what people have been asking for. So here's Watchers of the Dead right here. This is 2 mana for an artifact creature, a cat artifact creature. It's a 2/2, and you can exile it to have each opponent choose 2 cards in his or her graveyard, and then exile the rest of them. Graveyard hate. It's graveyard hate in standard, like pretty good graveyard hate that literally any deck can play, and it's only 2 mana. It can attack if it's got nothing else to do. It's an artifact, so it counts for things like Unlicensed Disintegration, Improvise, and Exemplar, Inventor's Apprentice, like all kinds of stuff that this matters for just because it's an artifact. I really wanted Tormod's Crypt in this set, but you can't just straight up reprint Tormod's Crypt. It's got a guy's name on it. So you can just randomly throw it into a set that's got story elements to it. So there's that. That's why we need core sets back. Anyway, this will do as a fine tool to hate on graveyards, and it still allows them to have a couple of things they want, so it's fair in that way, but it's still really hinders Delirium an awful lot, right? Hinders things like Scrap Heap Scrounger too, Torrential Gearhulk even. There's a lot of stuff that this will help against, although with Scrap Heap Scrounger they can still keep a Scrounger and another creature in their graveyard. With Torrential they can still keep 2 instants in their graveyard. So it's fair. It's a fair piece of graveyard hate, but it's much welcome. We needed something like this. Like I said before, all the rest of the cartouches and trials were spoiled today, so let's go through those real quick, starting with the cartouches. Well, this is possibly my favorite cartouche right here, and I already hate saying that word, but this is maybe my favorite one. This is Cartouche of Zeal. It just costs 1 red mana, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. And the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. The black cartouche is Cartouche of Ambition. It costs 3 mana, that's 2 and a black, and when it enters the battlefield, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. The enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. The green cartouche is Cartouche of Strength. That's 3 mana, 2 and a green, and when it enters the battlefield, you may have enchanted creature fight target creature an opponent controls, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. The blue cartouche is just 2 mana, that's 1 and a blue, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and enchanted creature has +1/+1 and flying. Well, here they all are, right here on the screen together. I really, like I said before, like that red cartouche an awful lot. Mono red aggro is really shaping up, or perhaps a red-black aggro, but it looks pretty focused to me. Mono red aggro looks like a thing, and it definitely looks like it's going to be playable in draft. It looks like you can draft up a pretty nifty mono red aggro deck if you get the right cards passed to you. So I do like this cartouche an awful lot, and we've seen a couple of things so far that make it really hard for the opponent to block. And gifting haste is also not bad. Turn 3 on a 2-drop, this is pretty sweet. So I like Cartouche a lot, the Zeal at least. The other Cartouche that I like here is the blue one. Cartouche of Knowledge looks fantastic. Drawing a card is pretty sweet for just 2 mana, and you get a creature +1/+1 and flying. That looks great in limited all day. And I'm not going to say it's going to see standard play, but hey, you draw a card for 2, and you give a creature flying and a bonus. So I don't know, if Cartouche deck is a thing, then the blue one looks pretty cool. As far as the green one, this is okay because it's removal, and the same thing goes with the black one. The black one is better removal, probably. I'm not really sure. -1 is not as good as fighting here sometimes, you know. But I do like that the black one gives the creature lifelink. I think that's a better ability than trample a good bit of the time. So I like the black one. I do. And I'm not saying the green one is the worst one. All of these are pretty good, you know. But you still run the risk of getting 2 for 1 a lot of the time. So we still got to worry about that. All of the rest of the trials were spoiled today too. Let me go through those real quick. Trial of Strength is the green one. That's 3 mana, 2 and a green for an enchantment. When Trial of Strength enters the battlefield, create a 4/2 green beast creature token. When a Cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, return Trial of Strength to its owner's hand. Trial of Zeal is the red one. That's 2 and a red. When Trial of Zeal enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. And, of course, when a Cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, you return Trial of Zeal to its owner's hand. Trial of Solidarity is the white one. That's 2 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +2/+1 and gain Vigilance until end of turn. And, of course, when a Cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, you pop it back to your hand. And the black trial is pretty good looking. It's 2 mana, that's 1 and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent sacrifices a creature. And when Cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, you pop it back to your hand. Here's all 4 of them right here. All of these look incredibly strong and limited. Just the green one, you know, a recurring 4/2 is pretty good. The red one, a recurring lightning bolt, is pretty sweet. The white one, a recurring +2/+1 in vigilance, looks like the weakest one, but actually in this set, if you're building like red-white exert in limited, this can be very, very good to give all your exert creatures vigilance. That's super sweet. And then the black one just looks super dope. Look at this thing. It's basically the same mana as an edict. It's a sorcery speed edict, you know, but it's an edict that you can replay like once or even twice. Like you can get 3 casts out of this thing in a game. And I mean, if you were to play this in constructed, they're definitely like you could play 8 to 10 or 12 cartouches, right? You could just get a bunch of casts off of this thing. An edict looks really, 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 really good. So I think that might be my favorite one, but the red one is sweet, the green one's cool too, and I'm not even saying that the white one's bad. It just looks decent and limited and probably not standard. But still, I'm actually a little bit more hyped for these than I thought I was going to be when I saw the blue one. Blue one's okay, don't get me wrong, but all of these look fairly strong, especially in limited, but are also good-looking build-arounds. While I got the graphic up, I'm going to quickly touch on Painful Lesson right here. It's 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. This is just for the sealed and draft environment in this set. If you're building, you know, the black X control deck, this might go in sealed or draft, so you do that. But in standard, we've got like at least 2 cards better than this, I think. But the last 2 cards I want to talk about today are actually fairly hype. This one not as much, but I like it. This is Combat Celebrant right here. It's 3 mana. That's 2 and a red. A lot of 3 mana cards today. It's a 4/1 human warrior, and it's mythic. Look at that. If Combat Celebrant hasn't been exerted this turn, you may exert it as it attacks. When you do, untap all other creatures you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Just want to remind everybody that we just saw a 1 mana enchantment that can give this haste and +1/+1, so there's that. It's cool, and keeps the creature from blocking on both combat steps. That seems pretty cool too, you know. Just bringing that up, but this looks actually playable, and it is fair. Like, Shock can kill this, Walking Ballistic can just be like, you know, and kill it. But so it's fair. Card is definitely fair, but you can find a way to give it haste. It becomes much less fair. And if you wanted to, you could get extra attack steps out of it by like blinking it and then giving it haste somehow. You know, you could do that. So that's cool. But even if you just get 1 extra attack step on turn 4 out of this, I think you're doing pretty good. So I like this card. I like it a lot. And note that like it untaps your other exert creatures and you don't have to attack with them if you don't want to, you know, like there's a lot of play with this card right now, not just in limited, but also in straight up standard. So I think this is a cool top of the curve finisher for that mono red aggro deck that we keep talking about. So I don't know. I definitely think that it's tryable, but you always have to be wary. You always got to be wary of these extra attack step cards. But I know this guy only has the 1 toughness, easily the worst thing about him, but at the same time, 3 mana for a 4 power guy that gives you extra attack steps, very likely. Like, if you get an attack off at all, you can choose to exert him. Like, that, like, it's, there's no, like, real hoop to jump through other than getting to an attack step with this guy, you know, without him having summoning sickness. There's really nothing else you got to do. It's not that hard. So I like this an awful lot, and especially like if your opponent taps out and you find a way to drop this guy and give him haste same turn, then that is awesome a lot of the time. So I like this guy. I know I've said that 4 times. I like this guy, and we're definitely going to try to make him work. But here's the big boy, Gideon of the Trials right here. This is 3 mana, 1 a white and a white for a 3 loyalty planeswalker, +1 until your next turn to prevent all damage target permanent would deal. 0 until end of turn, Gideon of Trials becomes a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible that's still a planeswalker. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. And 0, you get an emblem with, as long as you control a Gideon planeswalker, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. Okay, so I've got a lot of stuff to say about this Gideon. And, you know, Gideon is kind of like the Roman Reigns of Magic. I know everyone won't get that joke. What's up, Julie? But, you know, like, they keep pushing him on us, and we're like, no. You know, I know some people like Gideon, just like some people like Roman Reigns. But, again, front office is just like this guy, and there's so many people who are like, boo. So, you know, there's a lot of people calling this Planeswalker fair, which is surprising to me. I'm not saying that he's completely broken or anything, but I will say Wizards didn't necessarily expect for this Gideon and Ally of Zendikar to be in the format together. They expected there to be a rotation, but they changed their policy. So now we've got this and Ally of Gideon, and even the Planeswalker pack Gideon that looks okay. So we could play 12 Gideons in the same deck. We won't. We certainly won't. But we could play this and Ally of Zendikar in the same deck. We could devote 6 or 7 slots to that. You know, 4 of one, 3 of the other, whatever you want to do. So with that in mind, I'm just not sure that this is entirely fair right now, because you get a 3 mana worship. It's the same casting cost, or same CMC at least, as a worship. And they have to remove it. It's just like worship. They have to remove this or they're done. And not every deck has a way of removing planeswalkers. Hopefully we'll see something good in this set. You better give us a 2 or 3 mana instant speed way to kill planeswalkers, or we're in a little bit of trouble. So I just... we're going to have to play more Anguished Unmakings or something. We're going to have to play more To the Slaughters or something. So we're going to figure it out. Maybe Ruinous Path will pick up a buck or 2, you know. But we're going to have to be able to kill this thing, one way or the other. It's only 3 mana, guys. It's only 3 mana. You play this on turn 3, and you can't lose. It instantly makes aggro kind of suck unless they can answer your Gideon right now, you know. And I know a lot of people are saying he doesn't protect himself very well, and they'd rather he made a creature or something like that. But when a planeswalker makes a creature and we talk about it protecting itself, we're basically assuming that this creature that we're making will be blocking, will be chump blocking for the planeswalker. Well, that first ability is in some ways better than having a chump blocker, because you can target like trample guys with it and stuff. So, you know, you can target permanents. Like, you can target a Dynavolt Tower. You can target a Planeswalker that might hit you, like a Chandra or something. So there's, you know, like a Chandra that's ultimated, for instance. So there's, you know, there's so much play on that +1. And when you get the emblem on his ultimate, he doesn't die. It's a 0. It's a freaking 0. It's crazy. He doesn't die to anything. He doesn't have any minus abilities. That's absolutely crazy. And like, he can be a 4/4 if you want him to. So, I mean, I guess in that case, Grasp of Darkness could kill him. Like, Grasp has probably seen its stock go up a bit in the last couple of days here. We saw the Cycling Demon. We saw the Red God. Now we see this. So Grasp is going to be pretty important in the upcoming Standard, from what I can tell. But even with that, even with the removability by Grasp of Darkness, I just still don't think that this is entirely fair with Ally of Zendikar still in the format. Because if they kill this, you can just play your ally, and then hey, the emblem just says Gideon Planeswalker, right? So, there you go. I can't wait to try and brew up some things with this just to see if it's too powerful, you know? Like, we could play 12 Gideon Deploy the Gatewatch right now, and that would be a stupid deck, but a fun deck to play, you know? So, I just, you guys let me know how you feel about this Gideon, because I'm just a little wary. I'm a little wary. I got a feeling about this one. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm glad that I got this recorded, because there's apparently an apocalyptic storm coming. They've been saying that since last night, and it just hasn't shown up yet, but, you know, I'm sure that as soon as I say that, it's going to start really storming hard. But anyway, I'm looking out the window to see what's going on. That's why I'm looking over here. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed spoiler coverage of the day. Let me know how you feel about all of these, especially that Gideon and especially that red guy that gives you extra attack steps. I'm really kind of hyped for that dude. Probably more than I should be. He's probably a trap. But anyway, let me know how you feel about all these cards today. Like the video if you enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at SBMTGDev. Sub if you're new so you can get all these spoilers and the deck techs, because those will be coming out as soon as the full set is spoiled. And I will see you guys later. I'm Dev from SBMTG. This here's Julie down here. I don't even know if you can see her. Oh, there's a big peal of thunder. I don't know if you guys heard that. But it's coming. See? See? I jinxed it. But anyway, I'm Dev. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, my wizards.